hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where I break down the most controversial subjects, the most engaged topics, the most contested debates going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. Shout out to everybody watching all around the world. It's 11:25 here on the East Coast of the United States, but we got people watching from all over the world. And I want to thank you, as always, for being part of the Night School classroom. Make sure you hit that like button right now. If you are a family member, if you are a classroom member, hit that like button. You already know what it is. If not, and you're new to the channel, you're new to the classroom, that's okay. Wait a minute, see what you like, see if you like it, then hit that like button. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button, because when you hit the subscribe button, it allows you to be part of the classroom conversation. It allows you to weigh in with comments. We love when people weigh in with classroom commentary. You can weigh in, you can criticize, you can challenge. The only thing we ask is that you be civil and respectful of others. If not, you get a warning, because we got moderators in the chat here. Once you get one warning, it's for the record, no harm, no foul. You get two, now your comments are muted. Three, we got to get you up out of here. We don't want to do that. We almost never have to do that. So I'm not going to make a big deal about that, but I am going to say, please weigh in. It is so important to keep in this environment. Classrooms are the best when there's a lot of conversation and when the professor ain't the only one talking. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff we want to talk about tonight. I apologize for the delay. We had a live debate set up with a pro-Israel advocate, a staunch pro-Zionist. I don't know if they actually identify Zionists, but they support Zionism. To me, it's six in one hand, half dozen the other. But they were unfortunately unable to make it. It wasn't. Well, we can get into the why of it later, but they couldn't make it. I'll just say that. And so we had to scramble. I had to scramble, put together something. We got a little something here for you. We're going to talk to you tonight. We're going to do a few stories that I think are important, and then we're going to also cover. What else are we going to cover? We're going to do live Q&A. So I'm going to talk to you about some stuff. Somebody said Mark is on what they said. I seen it. I just Mark is on double, triple espresso. Wish, yo. I'm not tired. I'm just committed to doing night school, and so I gotta make it do what it do. I tell you, yesterday I was traveling. And I was very sick. I'm still sick, as you can probably tell and hear my voice. I was sick 2 nights ago as well, but I'm trying to power through. I feel better than I did yesterday. I'm still congested and all of that stuff, but trying to make it work. I got my water. I'm gonna do my vitamin C. We're gonna make some stuff happen. But we got plenty to talk about. I'm all forgetting the banners and stuff, man. Y'all, this is why I need adult supervision at all times. There's so many things I've already messed up on, but we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. Philip Blair said, I have a lot of questions, LOL, but I'm shy about asking sometime. Well, think about them. The good thing is you don't have to appear live. So you can think about a question, post it, we'll ask it. No pressure. And you got some time before we get to the quick Q&A part, so don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Jazz LP, Dallas is fine to say, Mark, are you wearing your mask and social distancing when you're out and about? Absolutely. I wear a mask on planes. I wear a N95 mask everywhere I go. If I'm in an Uber, N95 mask. If I'm in a car service, N95 mask. The place I really don't wear it is at home. And of course, unless I've been traveling, then I wear it so that people in the house don't get sick from me. But 9 times out of 10, my son is going to get me sick anyway. So who cares, right? By the way, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful job I have. Being able to travel around this country, being able to speak in front of large crowds, being able to give guest lectures, being able to do certain kinds of work out in the world. It's important and it's powerful. I take it as a blessing to have the opportunity. Also, you know, a couple of videos I made lately have gone viral. I think a speech I gave at St. Sabina Church has gone viral lately. It's an old speech or sermon or whatever you want to call it, but it's gone viral in the last week or two. And so I have a fairly high sense of confidence in my abilities as a speaker. Well, all of that came crashing to a halt yesterday. It was not my finest hour, let's just say. Yesterday, I was asked, no, really, I was drafted into doing story time at my kids' daycare. It's really like a school setting, it's like a classroom setting, whatever. And they told me, well, really, they asked my wife to do it, but she's sick, to the point y'all were making. And yes, Jazz, I do shake hands, but I also wash them. I carry sanitizer. I do all the things. It's rough though, I ain't gonna lie. But she was not well, so she said, "Can you come and can you speak to the kids?" So I said, "Sure." How hard could it be, right? I lecture in front of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. I perform. I get people excited. I get people to jump and shout and scream and cry and all the things, right? At my best. Not all the time, but at my best. Right? I've had those opportunities and those moments. So I'm like, I got these 3-year-olds. So I came to the class and I read 2 books. One was like, what was it called? Bebé para el Mercado. Bebé para el Mercado. It's a story. It's like an African. It takes place in the context, I believe, of West Africa. They don't say the exact country, but it's like a village in West Africa where the baby goes to the market. It's in Spanish. And then I read his other book, which is pretty solid too. It was about like living your dreams or something. It's called Dream Big. I don't know. It was in English, and I thought I was going to translate it, but then we decided to do one in English, one in Spanish. Anyway, I started reading that book, yo. I had absolutely no control of these kids. It was like maybe like 13 of them, maybe 10, 12, 13 of them. And they gave me their attention for like 7 seconds. Then they started getting up, doing karate, doing backflips, doing spins. The only one who was really paying attention was my own kid. And he really liked story time. It wasn't because I had any special control over him. He just really likes that story, which is why I picked the story, why my wife picked the story. So I'm about 5 minutes in, 8 minutes in. These kids, they're losing so much respect for me. Now they're tumbling. And the teachers seemed a bit surprised at how unengaged the kids were by me. So I just sucked it up and kept going. Then I was like, all right, I know what'll work. So then I stopped reading the story. I mean, they're like 2 or 3. They're illiterate anyway. They can't read. What the fuck do they know, right? So I started making up stuff in the story. I started doing sound effects. I started doing interpretations. I started doing body movements. Before I knew it, I was basically putting on a whole. I decided, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to end, but I just wanted it to be over. And it was like the longest story in the world. I swear to God, I read the story every night and it goes like that. But tonight or today, on this particular day, yeah, no such luck. That shit went on and on and on. Because it's about a baby who like buys like fruit at the market or steals fruit from the market. Baby gets fruit from the market from these kids, from these vendors who love him, and he slips the fruit into his mom's hat. So it's like, oh, 6 platanos, oh, 5 naranjas, 4, whatever. But it's like, so the story is very repetitive. And like, I was like halfway through, I started skipping pages, making shit up. And then finally, when we get to the end of the book, it was like 1 page left. I was like, all right, we're at the last page, y'all, 1 more page. And the kid raised their hand and goes, after the next page, will you leave? It's like a dagger right through my heart. And right when I thought it couldn't get any worse, another kid raised their hand and says, "But your son is going to stay, right?" And at that moment, I think my son lost considerable respect for his father. He put his head down in shame. I read that English story so fast and got up out of there, man. You thought they was chasing me. And I will never, ever, ever read at a daycare again. Man. So, what else y'all want to talk about, man? Let's get to these stories. Let's talk about Donald Trump. So, let me get this straight. Donald Trump, since the moment he was elected or inaugurated, has been shutting down anything related to race, diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever, right? I mean, he literally is shutting down DEI programs across the federal government. He's telling agencies to stop recognizing identity and difference. He's literally his Department of Education is threatening public schools to cut DEI or else they won't get funding. There seems to be a very clear agenda here from Donald Trump. He don't rock with DEI. He don't rock with race. They want to pretend that race doesn't exist. They want to be colorblind, color mute, color neutral. They want to be all those things. They want to get rid of any program that attempts to repair racial inequality in this country. I get that. But then Donald Trump turns around and throws a National Black History Month party at the White House. That's weird to me. Now, I get what you're saying. What some of y'all might say, well, DEI programs are one thing. He doesn't want social engineering. They don't want government putting a thumb on the scale. No. They want more than that. Donald Trump and his band of merry idiots and racists have very clearly said that they don't think we should be acknowledging race as a difference. That racism itself is embodied and exemplified by people who point out race and racial difference. He's saying we shouldn't even mention race. We shouldn't talk about race. We shouldn't be talking about black programs and black leaders and black this and black that and white this and brown that. No, we should just be Americans. And yet he's celebrating Black History Month at the White House. Some of y'all might say, well, that's a good thing. Maybe he's growing. Or why are we getting mad at him for doing one thing right? Nah, that ain't why he's doing it. I mean, you got the Pentagon saying that identity months are dead. The Pentagon is saying we don't do identity months. That means no Women's History Month, no LGBTQ month, no Latin Heritage Month, and no Black History Month. You got federal agencies cutting Black history events. You got colleges being forced to dismantle diversity programs or lose federal funding. Trump literally says that DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion programs are racist. But he throws a party at the White House for Black History Month. Who does he invite to this party? Who does Donald Trump invite to a Black History Month party? Who would you expect to see at a Donald Trump Black History Month party? It's a good question. I'm going to tell you. Tiger Woods was there. That's right. Mr. Cablin Asian himself, the person who barely identifies as a person of color. He doesn't say he's black. Remember, he was Cablin Asian. He's Caucasian, black, Asian, all that stuff. Kodak Black. Lil Boosie. So you got somebody who don't want to be black. Somebody who embodies the worst racial stereotypes of blackness. And Lil Boosie, who has enough all kinds of stuff attached to him, particularly anti-LGBTQ stuff attached to him, not to mention his own other stuff that comes out that ain't my business, but he makes public because it comes in the news cycle. And of course, on top of the black entertainers, he has the black conservatives. That's right. All those black people who say being black is a burden or a detriment or shameful or pathological, all those people that tell black people to pull their pants up and act right. Yes, he invited all of those black people to a Black History Month celebration. What are they talking about? What is Tiger Woods going to say at Black History Month? Other than he likes to golf with Donald Trump. What's Lil Boosie gonna say about Black History Month to Donald Trump? All he did was invite all those Negroes that supported him, all those Negroes that endorsed him, all those Negroes who encouraged other Negroes, particularly men, to vote for him. Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about Black history or Black people, but these kind of cynical moves work because people aren't paying attention to all the programs he's cutting. Instead, they're watching him bring out powerful Black people and put his arm around them, and they get happy. And when Donald Trump says he is going to do something for Black people, what does it look like? Well, I'll give you a hint. Look at this.
Beautiful outdoor statue park. It's going to be a statue park. It's going to be unbelievable. We're picking the final sites now. It's between various states that want it very badly. We'll honor hundreds of our greatest Americans to ever live, including countless Black Americans, icons. The garden will predominantly feature incredible women like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, and Coretta Scott King. And I will showcase extraordinary. It will be something very extraordinary. It's going to be producing, we're going to produce some of the most beautiful works of art in the form of a statue for men like Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Jackie Robinson. What a great athlete that was.
That's the one
Martin
he knows.
Luther King Jr.
He knows him.
Muhammad Ali. He's not a bad athlete. What do you think, Muhammad? Not too bad. And the late Kobe Bryant. People love Kobe Bryant.
Yo, you could tell the Black people that he's heard of. You can literally tell when Donald Trump knows somebody. He's like Frederick Douglass, Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali. He knows them athletes, and he knows Martin Luther King. Everybody knows Martin Luther King. Donald Trump is doing this thing where he takes away the resources, takes away the investment, takes away the institutions, but gives you a statue of Aretha Franklin, gives you a statue of Billie Holiday, gives you a statue of these extraordinary people. And let me be clear, they do deserve to be there. I love that Coretta Scott King is going to be standing and memorialized in full public view. She deserves it, as does Martin Luther King, as does Billie Holiday, as does Muhammad Ali, as does Frederick Douglass, as does Sojourner Truth. We can go on and on and on. That ain't the point. The point is that Donald Trump is taking a substantive investment in Black life, Black society, Black communities, and he's stripping it away and replacing it with a thin politics of visual representation that will make some people happy while many suffer. And sometimes the people who are suffering are also going to be happy because they support Donald Trump against their interests. This is so terrible. This is so whack. This is so obvious, and yet we keep missing it. Now, let me be clear. Democrats love them some symbolic, thin representational politics too. I don't ever need to see Nancy Pelosi kneeling with a kente cloth on again. I don't need to see none of that. I don't need any more BS representation of progress as opposed to a substantive investment in progress. But it is hella bad to see Donald Trump strip away everything. Strip away everything. And then hold a damn party. Come on, y'all. Somebody said, was there kente cloth? I don't know if there was kente cloth at this event. I can't say. But here's what I can tell you. When George Floyd was killed and there were mass protests around the country, the Democrats, they somehow couldn't impose substantive policy on time. They couldn't do anything to abolish or defund police and invest in other things, but they found time to make a scene. They found time to do this. Remember this, y'all? Remember this? When y'all favorites, Chuck Schumer's there. I see Nancy Pelosi there. I think there's Clyburn on the other side there, but this didn't have to happen, y'all. This didn't have to happen. And as Bullet the Bunny points out, the Congressional Black Caucus approved that photo op. I'll save my thoughts on the Congressional Black Caucus for another moment. But I will say this was a bad look. This was an awful look. And it's just a reminder that Democrats do the same shit. But Democrats and Republicans ain't opposite sides of the same coin on this issue. And generally they are. They're two conservative right-wing parties. I'm not pretending otherwise. But what I'm saying is on this issue, Donald Trump is literally relitigating fights that we had in the 1950s and 1960s, and forcing us to by stripping away layers of policy. And then after doing all of that, sir, you host a Black History Month and you Negroes show up. But let me tell you, Black people, stop showing up to this shit. Stop taking invites to the White House from people who don't have any investment. If you go to the White House to advocate for us, fine. If you go to the White House to push back or protest, go ahead. But if you go to the White House to just be another mediocre Negroes celebrating your access at the expense of the vulnerable, I ain't got no words for none of y'all, man. Anyway, let's move on to another story, man. Because Donald Trump has suffered a major loss. It's always good to hear that, right? Donald Trump just took a major L in his fight to end birthright citizenship. And now looks like the Supreme Court of these United States, to be clear, might have the final say. A federal appeals court just blocked Trump's executive order that tried to strip citizenship from certain children of immigrants, ruling that the Constitution, shocker, the Constitution, not the president, but the Constitution gets to decide who's American. You see, for over 150 years, the 14th Amendment has guaranteed that if you're born on U.S. soil, you are a citizen. Y punto. That's it, period. But Donald Trump's Department of Justice argues that the rule is outdated and it's a major part of the quote-unquote immigration crisis at the border. The case is now on track to reach the Supreme Court, where Trump's appointees could shift the tide. This is going to be interesting. When Donald Trump, on his first day in office, ended birthright citizenship, I told y'all that would likely not pass constitutional muster or judicial muster, that it was going to get overturned. It's very difficult to imagine that Donald Trump has the power, or that the court has the will or the inclination, rather, to overturn a century and a half of policy that says that America, if you're born in the U.S., you're a citizen. Khalas. But if there were ever a moment where it could happen, it's now. You got Donald Trump. You got a weak Democratic opposition in Congress. You got rabid Republicans who are extreme on these and other issues. And you got a Supreme Court that's filled with Donald Trump appointees. Now, I still think it's going to get overturned. I can't imagine that they will be so... There's a level of brazenness that even they won't have. I can't imagine this. Let me take that back. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine them upholding Trump's commitment to ending birthright citizenship. I can imagine it, but I don't think it's going to happen. That said, this is never about it actually. Donald Trump governs through multiple strategies, one of which is to propose things that are never going to happen. When he said that, we proposed that all of Gaza gets emptied and that all Palestinians in Gaza are permanently resettled in Jordan and Egypt, maybe even Indonesia, and that the U.S. would take it over and turn it into the French Riviera. Trump is doing a political thing. He's doing a certain kind of political maneuver. When Trump says, I'm going to build a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, he's trying to do a thing. There's a way that, yeah, if everyone lets down their guard, maybe it could happen. Trump wouldn't fight it. It's like that, Nelly, I'm just kidding, like Jason, unless you're going to do it. It's like that, right? Like I'm not serious, but if y'all let me do this, I'll get away with it. But really, that's not the point. The point for Trump is to signal to his voters. It's to create a certain kind of political mayhem. It's to create a certain type of unsettling amongst his most ardent supporters. When they see the Supreme Court overturn it or Congress fight it, it just makes them dig in their heels even more and close ranks around Trump more, because they know that Trump did everything he could to get these immigrants out of here, to get these illegals out of here, to get these aliens out of here. That's the language they use. That's the frameworks that they draw upon. And so Trump knows that it doesn't matter if he wins or loses this battle. He just has to engage the battle. And that's what Trump's doing. So please don't think that when we say Trump took an L, it's an L in the technical sense, but please don't think Trump lost. This was a tactic as part of a broader strategy. And right now, Trump is winning at that strategy. So just keep that in mind as y'all talk about this birthright citizenship stuff. We got some comments coming in. We'll get to these questions later. We'll get to these questions. I see Q's and A's coming in. We'll get to them. I can't wait to talk to y'all about those. If you got questions, please drop them in. Super chats, super stickers, super thanks. Those obviously get the priority, but other questions will be answered, especially from members. Let's talk about it. Let's get to it. Another story that I want to talk to y'all about. Y'all know Tia and Tamara, the famous identical twins from back in the day, sister, all that stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. I was told to watch it, but anyway. This story ain't about entertainment. This is about something more interesting and deep and substantive. So I just want y'all to know that. Anyway, Tamara Mowry's husband, Adam Housley, just got lit up on social media. Whew. This dude went on Beyonce's internet and said that some food stamp users, quote, work the system. They work the system. And once he said they work the system, he got dragged pretty hard. Now, for context, her husband, Adam Housley, is a former Fox News reporter. I'm not saying let me say it differently. Being a former Fox News reporter or a current Fox News reporter doesn't necessarily make you an asshole. This guy may be the most wonderful person in the world. I don't know him. I have not met Adam Housley. I literally wouldn't know him if he walked up to me on the street. But I will say that people who do reporting for Fox News or hosting for Fox News often have a point of view, a particular point of view, and his comments reinforce my belief about what his point of view probably is. Anyway, he didn't just say people work the system. He said that he says that he saw people buy junk food with food stamps, then use cash for liquor and cigarettes while working at his family's grocery store. He even called out people who scammed change, he says, just to buy alcohol. Now, with the Trump administration back, and they're pushing to restrict what SNAP users can buy, his comments are kind of fueling and also just reflecting a bigger debate, which is, should the government control what people eat? Or is this just policing poor folk? This is a tough conversation to have, right? I mean, and it ain't the first time we had it. Remember, Michelle Obama caught hell for trying to make school lunches healthier when Barack Obama was president, and her critics slammed her for food policing kids. Conservatives said she was forcing government control over personal choices. So it's fascinating to see when the right picks and chooses, to see when the general public picks and chooses. I understand what Mallory is saying. I know people on food stamps. I know people who get WIC. I know people who got all kinds of stuff, and they don't always make choices that I would make. I know people who sell their food stamps. Yeah, sure, of course I do. I know people who sell food stamps, and they do other things with the money. But it's so easy to beat up on poor people. Rather than beating up on poor people, why not critically assess and examine the system that produces poverty and that constrains or forces the choices that you're criticizing? Let me put it more simple. You say people buy junk food with food stamps, but people who buy food stamps often live in places that are food insecure. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't buy potato chips or whatever, pound cake or whatever, used to go with Bill Cosby's examples or whatever with my food stamps. Maybe I shouldn't buy a cheesesteak or crab fries with my stuff. Maybe I should go and buy groceries and all of that. I'm with you. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm sure I don't doubt that Adam Housley saw that. But I also know that most people who live in the neighborhoods where those things are happening also have deep food insecurity. You already got to go 2, 3, 4 miles to get fresh fruits and vegetables. You already got to get on a bus or a train or a subway to get foods that actually serve your body well. So I'd rather you, Adam Housley, wealthy person, rich person at least, privileged person, I'd rather you focus on the food insecurity that people face than to talk about the guy who bought a Chico stick instead of a stalk of celery, or the person that bought a grape soda instead of spring water. I get it. I want people to make healthier choices too. But I'm also not going to use my pulpit to criticize those things. Now, again, there's another layer to this, right? Because some of you are saying, "Oh, this is just whataboutism, right? Why can't we criticize both?" I'm saying it's not enough. It's not just a matter of me saying there's bigger fish to fry, although there are. I'm also saying that the choices that we're making, these unhealthy choices that we're making, and these games that we're running against the system, the working of the system that he's talking about, happens because of the circumstances that we are placed in. People sell food stamps for cash because there's no living wage jobs. People sell food stamps for cash because it's easier to get a meal than it is to find ways to put clothing on their children's backs. And so sometimes you sell the food stamps or you eat shitty food because it's cheap. You know how hard it is to eat high quality food? Do you know how much Whole Foods costs? We used to call it a whole check. So if you can afford Whole Foods and you go to that corner store where you worked, Adam Housley, which rarely has fresh fruit and vegetables, which rarely have other things that people need to be sort of healthy and meet the USDA's guidelines for a healthy diet, those stores don't have that. So we end up having to rob Peter to pay Paul, either financially or dietarily. People scam change just to buy alcohol. Yes, people drink. Let me tell you something. The reason part of what we talk about minimum wage versus living wage is because poor people deserve dignity. They deserve a quality of life. A living wage allows you to have a modest life, but a decent life. Food, shelter, utilities, transport, healthcare, childcare, and recreation. There's space for recreation. There's space for entertainment. There's space for joy. There's space for pleasure. The idea that poor people should never go to a movie, or poor people should never have a glass of wine or whatever their alcohol or product of choice is unfair. And it's also funny that the right is so obsessed with the government being in their business. Again, when Michelle Obama wanted healthy public school lunches, they said, "Oh my God, she's a communist. She's a monster. She's all these things because she's trying to get into our refrigerators and our bellies." What? Public school or school lunch is federally funded. It's paid for my tax dollars. Federal funding goes to pay for public assistance and food stamps. In other words, the government has no more a right to be intrusive in my public school lunch than it does in my food stamps. But we've somehow decided that when it's poor people being policed, no, poor people, oh, you're on welfare, you should be drug tested, and you should have your DNA checked, and you should be sterilized, and we should inspect every morsel you put in your mouth with your food stamps. But when it comes to everyday people or middle class people or people who we deem undeserving, when it comes to that, now all of a sudden, We want to be on top of everything. Apparently there's an issue. I'm reading the comments. Apparently there's an issue with the Wi-Fi. This is a technical issue. Again, just let me know, y'all. How has it been going on the entire show? Yeah, I mean, I'm hardwired in on the Ethernet, so I'm not sure why this is happening, but it's strange. But let's see what we can do. If not, I'll have to reset, which I don't want to do, but I will if I have to. Yeah, I'm connected to Ethernet. I don't know why this is happening, to be honest. I can't imagine. Somebody said it's been an issue for weeks. It hasn't been, though. I get that that's hilarious, but it hasn't been. Actually, we've had very clear, strong signals. I hear y'all. Bring the router closer. I understand everyone has very specific advice about getting a new camera and getting a better router and all these things. With all due respect, y'all don't know what you're talking about. The router, is right there. For the entire house, the router is right there. I am literally 3 feet from the router. I don't know anything more I can do with the router. It's an Ethernet wire. I'm not using Wi-Fi, and I'm plugged into the router, which is right there. There's nothing else I can do. This is the top of the line camera. There's nothing else I can do. There is a issue that is causing the internet to be down in the entire neighborhood with the weather. It's been happening intermittently for a few weeks now. There's nothing else we can do. But if it's really that important to y'all, then just log off. Come back tomorrow. Come back next week. We'll do our best. All right, we're doing our best here. Okay. Let's move on to another story. I don't like this story. I don't even like talking about Elon Musk. I hate talking about Elon Musk. I just get so tired of talking about Elon Musk. But we got to talk about Elon Musk. Why? Because he's kind of like the president now. Is he president yet? Is Elon Musk about to make a major policy intervention? We're about to find out. It looks like he wants to drop $5,000 stimulus checks in the hands of American taxpayers. That's the claim behind the so-called DOGE, that's the Department of Government Efficiency dividend. Again, it's called the DOGE dividend. It's a proposal to give 20% of Musk's projected government savings back to the American people. Musk responded to the idea saying he would talk to Donald Trump about it. Now, who knows what that looks like? Those two are weird. I don't know who's the alpha in that relationship. I thought it was Trump, then I thought it was Musk. I think it's Trump again. I think it's weird watching Musk be Musk. It's just weird. But anyway, I don't know if this could really happen. I'm not an economics expert. I'm not a deeply studied person on stimulus proposals, but I do know some very concrete realities. Congress has to approve this. Congress don't want to approve this. Congress didn't want to approve stimulus checks when Joe Biden was, or excuse me, when Democrats were in control under Trump the last time. I don't think they're going to be willing to do it. Now, Trump could bully them into doing it, but Republicans really don't want to just give out stimulus checks. And Trump is a one-term president. They might not be as afraid of him as they were last time. Then there's another issue. Again, I'm not an economist, but I do know that taking $400 billion, which is pretty much what giving out $5,000 in stimulus checks to do, $5,000 stimulus checks that everybody going to do. If you throw $400 billion in free money out, it's going to cost inflation. It's going to cost us the stability of the economy. It's going to cause inflation. The whole point of the Department of Government Efficiency is to prevent inflation, to fight inflation, to reduce inflation. So to me, this is a backwards idea. It doesn't seem like it's really going to happen. But again, it's all about the optics with these guys. If we can float a proposal that looks like we're trying to do it for the American people, that's all that matters. The rest of it, the smoke, the mirrors, the spectacle, man, who cares? We'll figure all that out. We'll figure all that out later. Americans, or at least the Americans watching this show, I need you to see through this bullshit. Donald Trump does not care about you. Elon Musk cares about you even less. I promise you. Even if you get the next stimmy, do not, and I mean do not, believe that Republicans or Donald Trump or MAGA have your best financial interest at heart. All they want you to do is go back out and spend to build up the coffers of corporate America. They're only worried about stimulating the economy for the 1%, not for the everyday work. And they think throwing y'all some bones with $5,000 stimmies is going to do it. Don't make them right. They think y'all foolish enough to be excited about this. Don't prove them right. Orange Moon said, if it does happen, I'm putting that $5K in my expat fund. That's what I'm talking about. That's the move, yo. Make the plan, execute the plan, get the hell out of here. I'm not telling you I want you to leave, but I understand why you want to. Especially if this Donald Trump, Elon Musk bromance continues, because there'll be another Donald Trump. Maybe not as charismatic, maybe not as idiosyncratic, but if this model works, they're going to continue with it. And Elon Musk will continue to be the president whisperer. I don't want to see none of that. Anyway, let's move on to another story, final story here before we take some questions. A NICU nurse walks free after breaking Black baby's bones. I hate this story on so many levels. It breaks my heart in so many ways. But I gotta tell you the story. A NICU nurse accused of breaking baby's bones just walked out of jail. And the parents, as you could imagine, are furious. The woman's name is Erin Stratman. She's a 26-year-old nurse, and she's facing felony child abuse and malicious wounding charges after hospital surveillance. This isn't word of mouth. This isn't speculation. This isn't an innuendo. After hospital surveillance allegedly caught her manhandling a Black newborn. She's the only suspect in a case involving 7, not 1, not 3, not 5, but 7 Black NICU babies with fractures and bruises between 2023 and 2024. You know, both of my daughters spent time in the NICU. The NICU stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. It's the ICU for babies. Most NICU babies go within 24 hours of birth. Both of my kids did. Both of my daughters did. My daughter stayed for about a week. My son stayed for 61 days. He didn't come home for 61 days. And when he was born, he was 31 pounds. He was 3 pounds. He was 3 pounds and like 8 ounces or something. 3 pounds, 11.6 ounces. My daughter was 6 pounds, 8 ounces. These are tiny people. And this woman, this NICU nurse, whose job, whose duty, whose responsibility is to protect and support and nurture these tiny creatures whose lives literally rest in our hands. Instead of doing that, she threw them around like rag dolls. 7 Black NICU babies who had fractures and bruises. Now, the parents are mad. Stratman is on house arrest at her parents' home. She's banned from being around children. She can't be around children. She also can't be around vulnerable adults. She's clearly seen as a threat. Her mental health evaluation has been sealed. Her text messages have been sealed. We don't know a lot about her. We do know that she was given a $25,000 bond. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm a prison abolitionist, so I don't want to see bail used as punishment. I want to get rid of the cash bail system. I'm not mad that she got bail. I'm honestly not. I don't like it. I'm not happy she got bail, but I'm not mad she got bail. I don't want her to become a distraction to a fundamental issue with the criminal legal system and the criminalization of everything and the the prison industrial complex and the ineffectiveness of the cash bail system. There's all these things that we need to really be dealing with. And I get how an emotional case like this can make you be like, lock her up, no bail. Same thing with killer cops. When a cop gets killed, I hear people say, give him $10 million bail or something absurd. Those things don't help us. Those things don't. First of all, if a cop gets that, or a white woman like Aaron Stropman get that, what do you think we gonna get? What do you think black people gonna get? What do you think everyday citizens gonna get? That said, the criminal legal system is not filled with abolitionists. The judges aren't abolitionists. The juries aren't abolitionists. The grand juries aren't abolitionists. The prosecutors aren't abolitionists. And they very routinely lock up black people for the same thing that Aaron Stropman is getting a pass for in terms of bail. So I understand why the parents are furious. If it were my child, I don't know what I would do, but I do know what I would feel. And watching a white woman get a punishment, well, I don't say a punishment yet, because it's not a punishment yet, right? But watching her get a certain kind of response from the court that a black person would never get. Can you imagine a black nurse who broke the bones of white babies? Can you imagine 7 white babies showing up? I mean, again, we're talking about babies that are a day old, an hour old, a month old, babies that weigh 2 and 3 and 4 pounds. Can you imagine 7 white NICU babies having multiple fractures and bruises? And a black woman is caught, or a black man is caught, a black woman or man is caught on video manhandling those children, and we see why they get it. We see why they get charged. We see why they get this. If you see all of that, do you think a black nurse or brown nurse or doctor gets cash bail, gets a $25,000 bond? You think so? Absolutely not. We know that. The solution, however, is not to fight for this white woman to be jailed for something she hasn't been convicted of. The fight is to create situations where the black people don't get locked up because they're too poor to be free. Where they don't succumb to the same cash bail system that killed Khalif Browder. So where they don't get adjudicated guilty before they ever have a due process in practical terms. This is what we have to fight. That is the fight. But make no mistake about it. While I don't want Aaron Stropman to get her bail revoked, because the truth is, if she is on house arrest and she can't leave and she can't be around anybody vulnerable, why can't she be home? What do we gain by locking her in a cage? But my God, I don't want her bail to be revoked, but I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep if it did. I have no sympathy for this woman. I have no regard for this woman. I have no respect for this woman. I have to assume that if you're abusing 20-day-old babies and 7-day-old babies, I have to assume that if you're breaking the bones and fracturing the body parts of literally the most vulnerable human beings in the world, then you're not well. So I hope she gets the treatment she needs. I hope she gets the care she needs. I hope she gets medical interventions. I can want all of that for her, but I still won't lose no sleep if anything happened to her. I'm not telling y'all to do anything to this woman. I want y'all to leave this woman alone. Let the processes prevail. But my God, what a painful story. All right, y'all. We got time for a couple live questions. If you got a live question, drop it on in. We'll do this for just a few minutes, literally just a few minutes. So, because these stories, we already done rocked for 50 minutes already. Let's see what we got here. J.E. says, can you do an Israel-Palestine chat with Elika Lebon? I don't know Elika Lebon. I know she is, but I don't know her. I'm trying to see if she follows me on social media. She does not. Of course she doesn't. I thought she might like hate follow me. Anyway, Liga de Ball, if you don't know, is one of those brown people who gets recruited to talk about how bad brown people are. She's, you know, the person who stands with Israel unwaveringly. She's the person who criticizes Iran without exception. She is the person who doesn't really support any kind of Palestinian self-determination, freedom in practical terms. She might say it's an abstract idea, but she would say, I'm a daughter of Iran and I know what Islamists, blah, 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 blah. They're all barbarians, you know, all of the same kind of lies and ridiculousness that the son of Hamas did in our debate and so forth and so on. So would I have a Israel-Palestine combo with Elika Lebon? Sure. Under the right circumstance, we can book it right now. I'll tell my team, book it. I don't care. But I'm trying to move away from those kinds of conversations more and more because they just become a spectacle. People don't learn anywhere. People don't grow anywhere. It's just two people with very different opinions fighting it out. And most of them don't know. I'm not saying I don't know her well enough to know what she knows, but a lot of them don't know anything. And so it becomes a silly conversation. And I'm trying to have fewer and fewer silly conversations. Shout out to Todd TJ Taylor, who just gifted 1 MLH membership. Anybody here want to match that? Somebody want to match that? We could use the support, man. It's February 21st, y'all. It's just the clock just struck midnight. This is the day. "60 years ago, when the great El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, was killed in the Audubon Ballroom. This is the 60th anniversary of the death, the murder, the assassination of our brother Malcolm X. And so I'm just noticing the clock because it just turned to February 21st. So Ali Hamu, radiallahu anhu. So many things to say, but I'll be at the Audubon Ballroom tonight with the Shabazz family. And whenever I'm in that room, I get overwhelmed with emotion thinking about what it meant for him to stand there and experience that. Anyway, we can talk about that tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow, I promise. But but that's it. Let's bring up another comment. Observing the Matrix said, saying it was an awful look is the kind of weird value signaling that causes us to lose. How is trying to show respect awful? We going to get what we deserve for being so cynical. So this question is in regard to Donald Trump holding up Black History Month event at the White House. I'm saying I'm not value signaling, and I reject the premise of the question. I don't think Donald Trump is trying to show respect. I think he is trying to play us. He literally has said that DEI is racist, that race talk is racist, that identity months are racist. So if I literally wage war on Black History Month to make my Republican base happy, to make my racist supporters happy, and then I say, hey, come on over for Black History Month, what does that mean? It's an empty gesture. It's worse than an empty gesture, because then the people you invite over are the worst representations of Black folk. I'm not talking about Black conservatives right now. I'm talking about the celebrities that we mentioned. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them are just the worst representations of Black folk. And then you offer invites to Black conservatives. So no, I'm not going to. Why should I thank Donald Trump or be proud of Donald Trump or happy for Donald Trump making a series of decisions that I think are going to actually do me and my community harm? That's not being cynical. Trump has only one principle: what he has to say or do to manipulate people to achieve his purpose. That's right, Digger. Thank you for your generous donation. Yes, I agree. For Trump, it's always the will to power here, man. Liberal Coffee said, do you think Paris Denard still eats at Cheesecake Factory? To be clear, Paris Denard, shout out to Paris, never said he ate at the Cheesecake Factory. He was telling a story about a young man who was at the Cheesecake Factory with his MAGA hat. Do I think he eats at the Cheesecake Factory? Yeah, I think he did back then. Now he might be like me. Now I wouldn't walk in a Cheesecake Factory if I had to, not because I don't like it, but because I feel like I would get clowned for being in one after making a joke about the Cheesecake Factory. I literally was in the mall and didn't eat there for that reason. But I think Paris, beyond the Cheesecake Factory thing, I often wonder how Paris Denard is doing. I wonder what he's up to. And I wonder if he holds a grudge against me and Don and Angela for that joke, which was really impromptu. Please have Feroz Sidwa or email him, please. Okay. I mean, we talked about it. I'm open down. I'm down to do it. I'm down for all these things. We just gotta figure it out. We just gotta figure out how to make it happen. We got other comments coming in. We got Kismet, who dropped a membership. Thank you, Kismet, for your generous donation. We appreciate it. Hopefully someone else will match. Virgo Rising gave a membership. Shout out to you. Rosability, the OG status, gave one membership as well. Thank y'all for doing it. Please, if anybody wants to match or exceed, we'd be most grateful. Any other questions coming in? Is Black History Month a good thing? Black History Month is good and ain't nothing bad about it. You know, I think the idea of Black History Month, the idea of using it as an opportunity to reflect and remember and historicize and really understand the Black freedom struggle and the Black journey through America, to take a month to understand the key pieces of that, I think is important. Black History Month isn't about just remembering the most famous among us or the stars among us, the Martin Luther Kings and the Frederick Douglasses and the Harriet Tubmans and all of that. It's not just that. It's an opportunity to think about freedom, to meditate on freedom. It's an opportunity to engage with not just the Black tradition as a site of celebrities and leaders, but as a space to examine our cultural practices and our rituals and our traditions and our texts, and to figure out how those things shape the people who came here to America as Africans and who were enslaved. And also to think about how those things may have helped us endure a world that has always despised us. My God. Think about that, y'all. I'm that young kicking in. Is Black History Month a good thing, man? I can't believe you. I'm still thinking about that question. It's a good first question because it got me thinking. Thank you. I hope my answer was helpful. Victor Brown said, taught English in Saudi Arabia for 15 years, left in 2006. Your thoughts on how many things have changed in the last 15 years? So, Victor, you probably would know more than me because I'm sure you have lots of contacts over there. I'll give you more insight than I could. But, you know, when I think about Saudi Arabia over the last 15 years, I think, oh my God, you've been going 19 years. I think about the rise of Mohammed bin Salman. I think about the MBS regime and what that has meant. There are some positives before he kind of ascended. I mean, you saw women in Saudi Arabia pushing back for different rights and freedoms. We saw them not having to wear an abaya or an overgarment or whatever. You saw women fighting to drive. You've seen all of these things which do reflect a certain kind of social progress, but it's a very slow process. And with Mohammed bin Salman there, you know, in many ways, he's looking outward rather than inward. He's looking to figure out how to make these great deals with all these countries in order to create conditions of economic stability against the backdrop of, you know, oil markets that are a little bit different and a geopolitical kind of landscape that is very different than it was when you left Saudi Arabia. You think about the power that Syria has. You think about the power that Russia and Iran are wielding right now. You think about the decline of Israel. I mean, all of these things I think are worth noting, and they all shape how Saudi Arabia does external business, which shapes the kind of climate that we see internally. But Saudi Arabia is a fascinating place, and it'll always be just fine. I think I saw something I wanted to respond to, and I just forgot that fast. Maybe I should take my behind the bed. Let me see. And yes, I will never forget what happened to my colleague. These are my colleagues when Wael Dahdour's whole family gets killed in Gaza, damn near. You know, these are my people. These are my colleagues. They're my friends. And when Shireen Abu Akleh, same thing. It was devastating. But Jamal Khashoggi, you know, is a fellow journalist who was killed at an embassy. He wasn't killed in Saudi Arabia, he was killed at an embassy. All journalists should be outraged by the death, the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and the state-sanctioned murder of him. It's something we need to talk and think about even more. I'll take another one more. There we go. Y'all gonna sit here and ask these questions when you see Marcus starting to scratch, but still have not asked the rap artist question. Jazz LP Dallas is fine. Is the only one who understands me. If I get this sleepy, y'all either better let me sign off, or y'all better ask me some music questions. Sylvia Horton said, "I'm for women wearing abayas." Look, here's the thing. The argument, particularly from Muslim feminists or other, you know, people, is not that you shouldn't be able to wear abayas, or that not even that you not just shouldn't be able to, that you should, like in terms of your interpretation of scripture, your divine mandate, what you believe the creator wants you to do. That's up to you. That is up to you. The idea here is not to fight to stop women from wearing abayas. It's to stop women from having to wear abayas. In other words, they're all the women I know who are fighting to take them off weren't saying they wanted all women to follow them. Now, they may have their own opinions about what those things mean for them, and I think that's okay. I think we can all have a perspective, a point of view, an ideology that connects. I'm good with that. But what we can't do is impose that on other people and call ourselves democratic. Now, Saudi never said they're a democracy, but there's something to be said about fighting for the rights of women, regardless of the kind of governmental frameworks we use to understand how we organize society. Thoughts on the role of Congressional Black Caucus? Look, I mean, the Congressional Black Caucus has done important work for a long time. They've also done terrible work in lots of places. You know, when I look at many of their local districts, I'm troubled. When I look at some of the policies they passed or not passed, I get disturbed. When I look at their stance on Israel-Palestine for decades after fighting to end apartheid in South Africa, I'm troubled. So the CBC has some great things. They're great people individually. I love them. I know most of them, many of them, and most of them. I know a ton of them, and I enjoy them a great deal. Anyway, I just think as a body, as an organized body, they suck monkey balls, to use a technical term. Let's see here. I don't see no questions, so I'm about to take myself. I don't see anything else. It's cool, y'all. I'm happy to go. I'll see y'all tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We're gonna get to it every time I'm near the microphone. So don't worry about that. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Everybody, it's the end of the month. And I'm, you know, doing everything I can to hustle and grind and create great content for you all while traveling this crazy world. We could use your economic support. Please hit the like button. That gives us economic support. Please hit the subscribe button. That gives us economic support. I'm not joking. Hit like, hit subscribe. Also, the most economic support of all comes, of course, if you hit that join button and become a monthly paid member of the channel. Please, please, please join. Even if it's just a bronze membership for $3.99, that's incredibly generous, and we're so grateful for it. So don't think about it as a bad thing or a demerit. It's a great thing. I appreciate you. Also, if you don't want to make a monthly commitment, you can make a one-time payment. Go to PayPal, Zelle, all of them things work. PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. Go to all of them and drop something in. We'd love if somebody tonight could give at least $10,000. I know it sounds crazy, but there's somebody out there who is wealthy or at least rich, who watches the show every night, who wants to support me in a big way. A five-figure donation would be incredibly appreciated. You have no idea. But everybody ain't got that. So please give what you can. $1 is not too little. $1 million is not too much. And we pretty much expect everything to kind of be in between those two extremes. And we're grateful for all of it. So please, whether it's $1 or $1 million, please donate to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. While we don't have a set number to demand, we certainly would like to let you know that if everybody watching right now were to give $10, everybody watching this program were to give $10 to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, we would meet our financial goals for the month. We would absolutely meet our financial goals for the month. So consider it. In the meantime, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all later. Peace.